Agatha all along. Episode 4. Damn.
What really happened to your son? Nothing, James.
Welcome back, everyone.
She
It's
thought it
time
was
for
her
us to do my
kid.
full Agatha All Along episode 4 video. There are a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references, and I think Marvel has revealed who Rio really is, what really happened to Nikki, Agatha's son, and what's really going on with quote-unquote teen, as they're calling him, even though I do think that he is Billy. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. They also just released Deadpool and Wolverine on home video, so we're giving away a couple copies. I'll name a couple winners during this video.
W.
Careful for spoilers on the episode. If you haven't seen it yet, we'll start at the beginning, work our way through shot by shot, talking about Easter eggs and WTF moments. Starting with the episode title, If I Can't Reach You, Let My Song Teach You, a reference to the next verse in the Ballad of the Witch's Road, Lorna's version, Alice's mother. It's also meant to reference them literally using the lyrics of the song to protect themselves and defeat the curse that's been on Alice's family generationally.
Yeah,
They use
break
the
the
episode
curse.
to explain some more of her backstory and what's really going on with her mother, and is basically her trial in this episode. Each of the different trials that they're doing episode to episode, like next week will be a different witch's trial in a different genre, are meant to be based on their greatest fears. And for Alice, it was her generational curse, the thing that she thinks killed her mother, but I think we all believe that her mother might still be alive. The
Or
actual
Agatha
opening
killed her.
scene is Agatha the
Who
others
knows?
figuring out what to do next after the end of last week's episode. Now they've lost Mrs. Davis, R.I.P., who they were using as their green Earth Witch. They wind up inadvertently using Rio as her replacement Green Witch without intending to. Rio sort of cuts in while they're trying to cast a spell to summon another witch, and Rio blames it on the way that magic works inside the MCU. Like, I didn't decide to come. The magic did it because that's just the way it works inside the MCU. Don't worry, I will talk about that because I think we have some more clues about what she really is, how she works, like what her power actually is inside the MCU, because I don't think that she's actually a witch. I think she's just pretending to be a witch. I think she's actually a cosmic entity, which is way more powerful. There's a
Oof.
lot of verbal references that I think give
I
clues
don't
to
know
what
about
really
all
happened
that.
to Nikki and how she's involved with that and what her history with Agatha is and how it all ties into Billy's secret identity. We're basically about halfway through the season, so like that's why they're revealing so much stuff about what's going on, everyone's backstories and the secrets. The others reference Alice's mother. She thinks that she died on the road in this dimension because the witch's road is like an alternate dimension, but the others are skeptical, like, you don't know for sure till you see a body. Everybody who has ever seen any movie ever, not just Marvel movies, but like any movie, knows the rule is that if you don't see a body, it doesn't confirm death. So the early theory is that at some point later this season, Alice will see where her mother is, or at least learn where her mother
Maybe
is
at the
possibly
end
still alive. When she says that her mother
you'll
died on
find her.
tour in a hotel fire, that's meant to be a lie. But it's also a reference to the way the curse works, like you see the burn marks from the demon on their shoulders when it manifests itself. So the idea is that at least before this, Alice believed that the curse killed her mother. She says the whole reason why she decided to come to the road with the other witches is because her mother told her that the road would save her. But from what? We find out that it's ultimately the curse that she's afraid of and winds up defeating because of the trial. To complete the trial, she has to defeat the curse. They bury Mrs. Davis's body on the road. Notice that Agatha keeps getting her name wrong. She keeps calling her Mrs. Hart multiple times through the episode, like, yeah, whatever. Just
She don't
another
know for
example of
real.
how, at least at this point
He's
in the episode,
losing it.
Agatha is still relatively uncaring. Like, she's on this mission, and she doesn't really care about the other witches. But as we've seen in previous episodes, and in this episode later, she's come to rely on them occasionally. I think that'll become a bigger thing, and eventually as part of
She
her
was worried. She
redemption,
thought
she
it
will
was her
start to
son.
treat them more like sisters in her coven. Like Agatha will become less selfish. She lies left and right through most of this episode. A lot of people asking what's going to happen to Mrs. Davis. Is she really permadead? I think this is meant to be a trick,
Maybe,
and she
maybe
will
not.
be alive by the end of the series in some way. Either they'll find a way to resurrect her, or this is a
She's
trick
gonna
of
be
the
in a
road,
garden.
making them think that she's dead, and she's just temporarily dead, and the road is bending time and space because of the way it does later in the episode, turning them around, making them go into the next trial. If the dimension here is semi-sentient and can manipulate the way that people see things and perceive things, then it can make them think that Mrs. Davis is dead. So I do think that she will be alive by the end of the series. When Agatha says that only one witch left the road with her last time, what the others are meant to take from this is that Agatha left alive and everybody else that went with her died. But I think the idea is
No,
that
she left
Rio
with
was
someone
probably
else, I
with her,
think.
and Rio is not really a witch, so she's technically not lying to them because only one witch did leave the road after she walked it last time. My early theory, just based on the way that they're teasing out Agatha's backstory and what really happened to her son Nicholas Scratch and him dying, is that she probably walked the road the first time to try to find a way to bring him back to life, but was unsuccessful. They haven't fully explained how she got a hold of the Darkhold. That might have had something to do with it, but she might have pursued the Darkhold to try and find a way to gain enough power to bring Nikki back to life. But I think Nikki's death would also tie into the whole mystery of Billy's identity being Scarlet Witch's son. I think we all believe that he's Scarlet Witch's son. Later in this
More than
episode, Rio
likely,
literally
yes.
tells Agatha that boy is not yours, basically saying that that boy is not your son, Nikki. That's why she got so bummed out at the end of the episode, like, oh, I kind of hoped for a second that it might secretly be my son. So early theory there is that Scarlet Witch found a way to actually bring her children back to life. Like there's this mystical way inside the MCU that they'll try to explain the comic book way that they came back because it's super twisty in the comics. And in learning more about that, Agatha might try to find a way to try and bring Nikki back to life. But ultimately, I think part of her redemption this season is in learning to be okay with Nikki being dead, like making peace with that. That'll probably have something to do with what her trial
Nikki
is
Cross.
based on. I think her trial will probably be like episode 8, because remember, each of the different episodes is a trial for the witches, leaving like one episode after that for the finale. So like episode 8 is meant to be when they answer every single one of the questions that they're raising each week. Billy lays some flowers on Mrs. Davis's grave because he's so big on witch lore. I think this has something to do with protection spell or something to do with helping her spirit or her soul. But Agatha reveals that they can't just quit the road mid-journey. The only way out is to finish it or to die trying. They use the summoning ceremony to
Well,
get a replacement Green
yeah,
Witch. They
keep
have a whole
going.
bunch of jokes too. But the whole thing that's going on here is that she's not specifically summoning Rio. She doesn't want Rio to show up, which is why she's so pissed off when she sees her later, like, oh, what are you doing here? Part of the idea, I think, is that Rio
She
is a
low-key wanted
cosmic
her.
entity, so she's way more powerful and omnipresent. Probably bound by some cosmic rules because each of the different cosmic entities can't just do whatever they want to. We saw a couple cosmic entities during Thor Love and Thunder, and I think we actually saw the one that Rio is representing. Don't worry, we'll get to that because there are a couple specific lines of dialogue later in the episode that I think give away which cosmic entity she is. But I think this is the reason why she's the witch to actually show up. She says, based on the way that magic works in the MCU, the summoning spell fairy the closest, most appropriate candidate, which was her, because Rio's essence was there watching them nearby. The way they play this for jokes reminded me of Arrested Development with Tony Wonder, Ben Stiller's character. If you remember, part of the joke of his character is that he would just like wait around the corner or in like dumb waiters for people to say his name, like Wonder, and he would show up poof out of nowhere. Because I think that Rio is a cosmic entity, she was just basically be waiting for a cue to show up like that. So if it wasn't clear though, Rio herself doesn't need
Or she
anything
was
from the
protecting
road
them.
itself. Like completing the road will not help her. She just wants Agatha, and Agatha wants the road. Also, we find out a little bit later about other things that she wants. We'll get to that in a second. Billy asks Agatha about Rio because he was stuffed in Agatha's closet when she showed up last time. He doesn't know who Rio is, only that she has some history with Agatha and there's some sort of antagonistic thing going on. So he's just trying to get more information. The other witches do not know about Rio's existence. When they spot the house, Alice Wu explains this was her childhood home, and it's the 1970s because that's when her mother was on tour and eventually when she disappeared. There's another chart with phases on the moon representing the fire phase. That's Alice Wu's phase. It's going to be the same in every single episode with the different trials for the different witches. And they're using this episode as a 70s themed rock musical or like a rock opera, all based on Lorna's version of the Witch's Road ballad. Notice all the banners hung around the walls seem to depict different people being tortured horribly. I think these are meant to represent all the different ways that witches were
Salem witch
killed
trials.
traditionally. Because you see Lilia watching them having PTSD flashbacks, like she's remembering friends that she knew, like other witches that were killed these different ways. Notice Rio is there with the black hood. This is important for foreshadowing. She starts messing with Agatha. When Agatha says no, the idea is that she wants all these witches' deaths. I think this is meant to be confirmation, and there's some more clues with later dialogue in the episode, that Rio is actually the cosmic entity Mistress Death. Later at the end of the episode, she says that her scar is a person that she fell in love with. I think the person is meant to be
AGATHA.
Agatha, and she had to quote unquote do something that hurt the person. I think the idea is that she had to claim Nikki's soul because he died, and Agatha was pissed off about that. And that probably had something to do with their relationship, but their relationship might have gone back before that as well too. All because Rio says the thing that she wants, that she gets out of this relationship with Agatha, is that Agatha can kill the other witches, take their power. So Agatha gets their power, and Rio will get their deaths. Like she wants to claim their deaths. Making you wonder how powerful Rio got when Thanos snapped half of
She
the
can't
universe
kill them
during Avengers
herself.
Infinity War. Rio being death also raises a lot of questions too, because what about the whole Thanos storyline during Avengers Infinity War with the Infinity Gauntlet? In the comics, the reason why Thanos snapped half the universe was to try and impress Mistress Death. He was literally in love with Mistress Death, the cosmic entity. They didn't really get into that during the MCU
Agatha
version of
took your
Avengers
bitch.
Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, though. There was no mention of Mistress Death. But we did see a statue of Mistress Death in the Cosmic Temple with Eternity during Thor Love and Thunder. Part of the idea is that the cosmic entity Death is super powerful, yes, omnipresent, knows everything about everyone that's ever existed from the entire timeline, start to finish. But as she implies in the episode, she's also bound by certain rules, like she was forced to do a job like claim Nikki's soul when he died, because that's part of her job. So the idea is that even though
You
she's
have
super
no
powerful here,
choice.
there are certain things that she can and cannot do. Otherwise, the other cosmic entities, Eternity, the other like really powerful cosmic forces in the universe will act against her, like the Living Tribunal. That's
I
meant to
got a
answer the
nasty
question that
ass
a lot of
cough.
people ask, like, well, if she's so powerful, why doesn't she just kill everyone? It sounds like the answer to that question is that she can only claim souls for people who are already dying. Like, she can't go around killing everyone herself. She had to rely on Agatha all these years to kill all those other witches, stealing their power, then claiming their souls. So I also think that's why she's wearing the black hood as part of her outfit, like it's meant to be a reference to the way Mistress Death looks in the comics. So when
He's
she
onto
says
something.
she's
He's cooking.
the capital the Green Witch, I think what she means is she's like the original Green Witch, because in witchcraft lore, Green Witches draw their power from nature, from the universe, and as a cosmic entity of death. She's not technically a witch, but it sounds like magic, the laws by which magic operate in the universe in existence, in that multiverse, she's bound by those rules. There are a couple big Easter eggs that they also planted in the episode to misdirect you a little bit, because the showrunner said that they planted a lot of red herrings in episodes purposefully to mislead people. There are a bunch of red masks on the wall depicting demons, foreshadowing the demon who shows up later in the episode. The red one Jennifer looks at also is meant to depict a version of Mephisto from lore, like the red face of the devil with the horns. So remember, she's also the person that referenced Mephisto in last week's episode. I think this is meant to be a bit of a
Maybe she
misdirect.
works for her.
Like they want
Him.
people wondering about Mephisto, like, oh, it's Mephisto behind all this. Not really. Notice all the pictures and the articles that are framed are from real-world musical groups like Fleetwood Mac. I don't know if Drop Beat was an actual real paper. I couldn't find any references to it online, but these are all just musical groups from the 70s, because that's when Lorna Wu was active as a musician. They revealed that she had been trying to open a portal to the Witch's Road during her concerts, using the audience as her like the other people that would sing the song with her. So in addition to that, her version of the Ballad of
There's
the
probably
Witch's
like
Road
hella
was
of
meant
them.
to be a protection
A
spell
lot of
to keep
people.
Alice Wu alive, being taken by the curse the way that their generations have been taken. There are a couple moments where Lilia has flash forwards, like she has visions of the future, but we don't know when they're going to happen in episodes because we don't see them happen yet. She says, which is it? Am I wispy or kooky? And then separately, she has another vision where she says, Alice, don't. There was another vision she had in last week's episode that had something to do with Agatha that does not happen in this episode either. So, like, there's a bunch of stuff from later episodes that haven't happened yet. So everybody just keep your eyes peeled for when we actually see those show up. When she says the spell summoned her because she was the one that was most appropriate and closest by, she says it ferried her down, but also maybe ferried her up. I think this is meant to mislead you, making you think that she might
That
be
would
a
have been a
version of
crazy
Blackheart
experience.
from Mephisto. So Blackheart is Mephisto's son in the comics. There were a lot of people that wondered at the beginning of the series if she was going to be a version of Mephisto's daughter. The idea is that Mephisto is meant to be the MCU version of the devil. So Rio is joking about being summoned essentially from the hell dimension, like up to the living plane. But like I said, I think that's meant to be a misdirect. I think she's actually a version of Mistress Death, the cosmic entity from the comics. Notice Rio is also curious about Billy, like, what's going on with that boy? Why are you so interested? The funny thing about that is the cosmic
Everyone's
entity
all
Death, she
curious
already
about him.
knows who Billy is, so she's really just messing with Agatha. Here's the thing though, like Agatha starts talking more about their backstory when she asks for a truce. Like, why don't we just have one more adventure? Like, call a truce between the two of us. I
It
think
was trying
part
to
of the
get it
bargain that they
on.
made with each other at some point, if Rio really is playing a version of Death from the comics, is that Agatha formed a pact with her for her soul. So, like, Agatha's price was her death, essentially. So the thing that Rio really wants in all this, the things that she came for during episode 1, why she was so pissed off, is because she wants Agatha's spirit, like her soul. She wants to possess her for all time, like be with her in that way for all time. And it sounds
That's
like at
true
some point
love.
Agatha was able to hide herself from Death, and maybe that's why she wanted Scarlet Witch, so she could steal her chaos magic power, and that would make her powerful enough to break whatever deal she had made with Death. Maybe also find a way to bring her son Nicky back to life. That's how powerful Scarlet Witch is meant to be inside the MCU. It's just a good way to explain why
You could
Agatha
basically do
cares so
anything.
much about taking Scarlet Witch's chaos magic, all because she probably wanted to bring her dead son back to life. So the whole idea here, and we'll probably see this in future episodes where she keeps saying, don't you want to see me at my best? Wait till I get my full power back, is the idea she's trying to stall for time so that Rio will not claim her soul. There's the moment of Agatha trying to betray her by turning the PA system on while Rio is saying that out of this bargain, she would potentially get the deaths of these other witches. Like I said, I think that'll go way back to old times, and we'll find out that Agatha gained power through her bargain with Rio, and Rio got the deaths, and this just goes back hundreds and hundreds of years. So anytime we see Agatha sucking power out of other witches, it probably has something to do with her bargain with Rio. Then Billy
Rio
plays the
takes the
Ballad of the Witch's
remaining
Road record, Lorna's version,
body.
plays backwards, and this is the thing that begins the trial. The metronome starts the countdown because this is a musical performance, like they're performing the rock opera. Lilia is almost taken by the curse, so is Jennifer. They start playing, and then eventually Alice is able to finally defeat the curse. Notice how Rio seems very casual about all this, like she could care less. And also the reason why she immediately
She
knew
ready for
what
them to
Lorna
die.
really wanted from the actual Witch's Road is because, remember, as the cosmic entity Death, she would basically know everything that everybody in existence wanted, everything that they were thinking about. Agatha implies that Alice's mother is still alive because somebody out there, quote unquote, somewhere, was playing the song continuously as a protection spell to keep the curse from taking Alice, which should have taken her already. So I think that's meant to be confirmation that her mother is still alive out there somewhere. Then we see Billy get injured by the curse, and the reason why Agatha gets super pissed when Lilia says he's young and strong and may survive it is probably
She was
because
trying to
she's
eat him.
feeling like Billy might be her son, and somebody probably told her the same thing when Nicky died a long, long time ago. Like, oh, he's strong, Nicky will survive this, and ... he did not. They implied that Nicky probably died because he was cursed by another witch, because the whole reason why Billy is about to die is because of this other curse. So later around the campfire, when Agatha references the Daughters of Liberty from the comics, they were a group back during the 1800s that was trained by Agatha Harkness in magic. My early theory is that she joined their coven, then stole their power, because that's what she did to all these different witches across time, and their descendants might be the Salem Seven coming for revenge. And at some point in history, Nicky was probably cursed by some vengeful witch trying to get revenge for Agatha killing someone close to them. So the idea is
Why
that
didn't they
Nicky was
just come
probably
after
collateral
her
damage
when
for
she
all
didn't
these
have
bad
nothing?
things that Agatha was doing around killing witches, stealing their power.
When she didn't
But now
know
in
about
present day,
anything
she
about being
falsely
a
believes
witch.
for a little while that this might be her son. Billy might be her son. She also explains later that sigils work on the witches who cast them, so if Agatha were to cast it on him, even though she thinks that she didn't, she might have actually done it. It's just her for like a hot second thinking maybe there's a chance, like maybe this could be my son. That was why later she was so bummed out when Rio literally tells her that boy does not belong to you, that boy is not your son Nicky. Jennifer does wind up saving him, and then obviously Agatha watches over him because at this point she still thinks of him as a surrogate son. When they start talking about the way that sigils work, though, Agatha explains that they're not removed, they have to be destroyed, and they're destroyed when they're not needed anymore. So the early theory is that he is Billy, he is Scarlet Witch's son, but in a different form, like his soul was reincarnated in a different looking body. And it was probably Scarlet Witch that laid the sigil on him at some point without realizing it. Maybe it was when she was singing to them after they were born, like right after they were born. And
That
because
would be
the
crazy.
sigil makes the witch that cast it forget that they cast it, Scarlet Witch just never remembered that she put a protection sigil on them. But here's the other part of this that they will probably pay off later this season. When they say the sigil lasts until the person doesn't need it anymore, Billy probably will lose the sigil when he fully comes into his power in episode 8 or episode 9 or whatever.
You're
All
gonna
because
go
Scarlet Witch
crazy,
probably
turn
cast
on
the sigil
everyone.
to protect him
Okay.
because he couldn't protect himself. But when he fully comes into his power, he will be able to protect himself, so he won't need the sigil anymore, and it'll drop, and he'll be able to say his real name, Billy Kaplan. Now, he does ask Agatha what really happened to your son. We will probably see that in Agatha's trial episode. Probably going to be episode 8. We'll see about that. I already explained the theory about what really happened
They're
to
doing
him,
a
though.
good
That was
job
probably
at
some vengeful
doing
witches coming
cliffhangers, though.
because Agatha killed someone close to them. Explained Rio's scar was basically Agatha, and why Agatha would have been pissed off at her, because it was Rio's job as Mistress Death to claim Nikki's soul because he was dead, and her job as Death is to claim the souls of the dead. There are a couple other big references here, too, to a bunch of supernatural creatures and lore. Lilia reveals that she fought a vampire who tried to bite her, and she ripped its teeth out. Vampires have existed in the MCU for a while. I think the first time they were mentioned in live action was during Thor Ragnarok. We saw them during Werewolf by Night, and we'll see them again during the Blade
I need to
movie
watch
if
that.
they do
Speaking
wind up
of
doing
that.
the Blade movie. Blade himself is half vampire. We just saw him in Deadpool and Wolverine, too. So I think this episode gave us everything we need to guess who everybody really is and what really happened to, like, Nikki, what's really going on with Billy. Let me know in the comments, do you think that Rio really is the cosmic entity Mistress Death? Do you believe
I don't
that she
think so.
claimed Nikki's soul? And do you think that Nikki was killed because he was cursed by a group of vengeful witches coming after her?
Probably.
I'll probably do like a separate video just about the cosmic entity Death, just because it's a really big deal, and obviously ties a lot back to what Thanos was doing with the Infinity Gauntlet, and just a lot of comic book references in general. Aubrey Plaza also said when she was doing interviews for the series that fans would freak out when they found out who she was really playing, so I think she was trying to hype people up that she was playing this
She
cosmic
probably
entity.
was.
Maybe if we're lucky, she'll actually reference the snap and half of all life dying and what she did during the 5-year time jump. Like, yeah, I just went around claiming half the universe. It was great. Got real powerful. Maybe she'll reference the dude who was really in love with her, who she didn't really care about at all.
That would be
Because that was kind
crazy
of
as
the same
hell.
vibe of Thanos and Mistress Death in the comics. He snapped half of all life to impress her because he was in love with her, but Mistress Death absolutely did not care about Thanos at all. Even after he snapped half of all life, she could care less. So maybe it's the same deal with MCU Death. She was not impressed by the snap. That would actually be pretty funny. Everybody post all your theories in the comments below. This will continue for like the next couple of episodes. What's really going on? I think they're just going to confirm some of these details in future episodes. There's a bunch of big stuff coming up. My full episode 5 video will post next week after they release it. There's a bunch of other big stuff happening this week. We have the Penguin episode 3.
I need to
Be sure
watch the
enable
Penguin.
alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that.
But that's it for today. Subscribe.